Good morning and welcome to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the first live daily photo show on YouTube every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Usually it's me here and Ryan in the back room running the show, but Ryan's on vacation. So I'm totally doing this on my own, which means two things. One, I'm guaranteed to screw something up, already have. And number two, I'm for sure going to at one point say, hey Ryan, would you, can you get, so we'll see how it goes. But let's just see what we can do. We're going to try and keep the show relatively simple so there's not too many areas of complication here. So, yeah, good morning to you all. So, look, I didn't even turn on my remote camera this morning. That's how far. I might want that thing. Let's just turn this on and see if it works. Oh, it is on. Why isn't it syncing? Oh, because I stole the cable. Because I'm setting up my, my new camera, that larger Blackmagic camera, the studio camera out in the studio. Since I was finally able to tear down the GH5 set, I started building the semi-permanent just big shooting set. Got it all lit, setup looks really nice. Did that on Friday, started getting the camera configured, didn't finish that before it was time to go. And what's interesting about configuring these Blackmagic cameras is you run two SDI cables. You have the SDI signal from the camera to the switcher, but then you send another one from the switcher back to the camera so that you can configure it. And that's so you can do all the light, the color setups and exposure setups and everything else. Some of that you can do in camera, some of that you can't. So I had to steal my cable from this camera to go to, anyway. But it's getting there. I don't know if I'll finish setting it up today. I got to get in there and do the really fine color and exposure settings, but it's going to be cool. It's going to be nice to have that camera out there. It's kind of a permanent setup. Anyway, today is an unboxing. Today is an unboxing of, I don't even know how to properly set this up, other than to say, I am so humbled. You guys as an audience absolutely rock. It is so incredibly cool to have this live audience that comes in, many of you coming in almost every day, and the only reason you don't come in is because you can't. This to me is just incredible. It's, you know, it's like any TV show live. People tune in for their dedicated TV show. I love it. You guys are the best. And you guys contribute to the show in many ways. Some of you are Patreon supporters. Thank you very much for that. Some of you contribute by doing the super chat in here. Some of you just contribute in other ways by buying my products that I might be representing, or any number of ways. Well, one of our viewers, and he's going to remain anonymous for now because we're not going to embarrass the individual, but one of our wonderful viewers has gifted me this. And I'm not a big audio guy, so I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is. I don't really understand it. So our viewer sends me a link to a YouTube video, which I have linked up here. It's a very, very informative YouTube video that explains what this is, what it does, the power of it. And from watching the video, understanding how people are underappreciating what this box can do. So this is a digital mixer. Now I have, and I know you can't see it on camera, but I have a hardware mixer sitting here. We've shown it in the show before when I've done kind of behind the scenes, and it's a big Yamaha mixer with 12, I think, inputs, or 8, or I don't know, whatever, inputs on it. And the sliders and the faders, and those like crazy slider fader things. And that's what I got sitting here. I don't know anything about audio. It's a real challenge to get the show sounding right, balanced right, getting rid of background noise, and so on. Apparently to our viewer, this is like a mixer plus a huge stack of other hardware, compression hardware and noise gates and limiters and all kinds of really, really cool stuff that would fill a rack, all fits into this little box here. And what's really interesting about this box is it has almost no physical interface. It's got a volume knob that's, I think, for the headphones. Yeah, for the headphones jack. And that's it. The rest of it is going to be controlled through an iOS or a Mac app interface, which is just wicked crazy cool. So I am so excited to get this thing set up and running. But today, we are going to simply do an unboxing because that's the kind of thing that we like to do. So this, again, really impressive interface from everything I've seen. And the person who sent it would certainly know. This is from Behringer. The model is the X AIR, come here you, X AIR XR16, and I believe the 16 is for the 16 inputs. I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. I can already see that on the picture here. And like I said, the crazy thing about this is it's the input, but none of the controls. You can rack mount this, which I will not be doing because it's just going to sit here. Instructions, excellent. So those are the ears for if you're going to put it in a rack mount, that'll screw on somehow, rack mounted. We don't need that. Figure out how to do this without hurting anything. Let's get the power cable off of there first. Excellent power cable. And now, so part of the way this thing can be controlled, since it's controlled over software, is it can be connected via an Ethernet cable, or it has its own built-in Wi-Fi network creator, whatever you call that, generator thingy, and it'll create its own network, and so that you can join it as a totally isolated network from whatever else is going on in the area, and have your direct access and control to that. So that's it. That is the entirety of this box. It's just it's like a big black box. You got no controls on it whatsoever, except you got a power switch, and you got a knob for your monitoring volume, and everything else is done through software. There's the antenna. Pop that out. There you go. So you can get your Wi-Fi running. So we've got, and I'm sorry I don't have the close-up camera. I totally forgot to get that set up today. But Ethernet, I'm assuming that's Ethernet input. Was this connect via Wi-Fi or connect via access point? Excellent. So you can choose that, or connect via Ethernet. Wi-Fi client. Oh, okay, so I guess this can join your existing Wi-Fi network. You can set it as an access point so it makes its own Wi-Fi network, or it can connect via Ethernet, which is of course what I'll do because I have Ethernet in here, and that certainly keeps things cleaner. MIDI in and out, USB. Now I saw something on the box, I'm going to say about a USB recorder, USB stereo recorder. I'm not sure if that means you plug something into here to output the USB, or if you could plug in like a memory stick and record straight to that. I don't know. That's going to be interesting to play with, because I do, when I'm doing the podcast in here, I record, or any kind of interview, I record the audio separately, because my mixer mixes everything together, right? What you're hearing is all the audio going into one place and going out to the broadcast. Which means if I'm doing an interview, someone's on Skype with me, their audio is also routing through the mixer, which means it's mixed or muxed together. They're combined together into a single track, which is what you're hearing. If I'm doing an interview, which I'm recording and going to post later, I don't want to have the audio mixed. I want to have the audio separate so that I can adjust my audio and their audio separately. So I can really balance the levels. I can do any EQ work that I want to do on my audio separate from theirs. And usually when I'm doing an interview, what happens is I will have them record their audio locally, and then I'll marry that up. I also record it here separately in software, but my primary recording actually happens straight off of the mixing board. It goes into an iPad. So I've got off of my current Yamaha mixer, there's a USB out, it feeds into the iPad. So that might actually do the same thing here. We'll have to find out, won't we? But that's what that is for. And then there's inputs. So you got combination XLR / quarter-inch inputs for the 1 through 8, and then 16 total, 8 more quarter-inch onlys. And there's aux outs, which is awesome. So from my understanding with the aux outs, you can program them to have whatever audio you want. So if you want only some audio coming out of one, all of it going out another, and so on. I guess we'll find out. Main speakers, I want to hook up speakers to this thing. Or if I was doing something like a concert, that was actually the output, so all my band instruments coming in and out it goes. And then a headphone jack for monitoring with the only control on there. Pretty wicked cool, isn't it? So let's see what's going on in the comments here. SRO Digital's pointing out, so Ryan's not here, for those of you who missed the beginning of the show. No, Ryan isn't in the studio, so it's suck it and see Monday, which is pretty much it. We're just going to see what happens. Hopefully it all works. No, Ryan is not ill. He is on vacation. Apparently I'm a nice boss and I let people go on vacation. I don't know how that works. Let's see here. Yeah, oh, John says you're not sure what happened. You were camping on another live broadcast and it vanished. Yes, my apologies. I set up this broadcast for this morning, did not realize there was already a Q&A built for today, and I realized that about 5 minutes before, so I killed the Q&A one, just deleted it because we're not doing that, and kicked over to this one. So, and then I forgot to set this one as public. So it was see, Ryan's not here. This is what happens. Jake says, I've worked with those before, talking about this, okay, and yes, the USB on that model is for a jump drive recorder playback directly to the jump drive. That is so cool. That's awesome. Okay, so that certainly saves a step. That's really neat. So yeah, like I said, I often will record the output. So slick, very cool. Jake then says, same thing, just with the PhotoJoseph in front of it. Achita says, this model preamp is good for its price, I'm assuming. But the EQ part is so crispy and not so responsive. I guess we'll see. We shall see. I obviously have zero experience with it, so this is going to be really, really interesting to play with. Some of the challenges that I deal with are that I don't know what's happening, right? I hear the audio isn't where I want it to be, and I don't necessarily know why. Or one of the biggest challenges for me as a non-audio background guy is figuring out how to get the audio levels right. So on my current setup, just to kind of outline the way I deal with audio right now. So I'm on a wireless lav, which is because you guys made me do that because you guys like the audio off the wireless better than off the boom. So the boom is not even here anymore. See, gone. So the wireless lav has its own levels input. So on the receiver, on the transmitter, which is what I'm wearing, it has its own levels output. And then the receiver has a levels input. And then, or is it an output? I don't even know. It's an input or an output, but it's got a levels adjuster on it. That plugs into the mixer, which has a fader and a gain. So there's two other things I can adjust levels. There's the master gain for the whole mixer, which then goes into the switcher, which has its own gain, which then goes out to the streaming software, which has its own. And of course, naturally, the actual levels numbers on every device aren't the same. It's not like the audio industry could standardize on 0 is our peak and anything above 0 is bad, anything below 0 is good. Why would they do that? Some devices, it's, what is it? See, this one, I think this one standardizes at 0. Let's see, the ATEM standardizes, oh fine, it standardizes at 0, fine, go prove me wrong. The, let's see here, my streaming app, Wirecast, standardizes at, I think -6. I don't remember, can't even see it here. It's all over the place. It's maddeningly frustrating. So anyway, point is, it can be really hard to figure out where your audio levels need to adjust. And then if you've got some kind of background noise, where is it coming from? What is it? Anyway, according to my benefactor, we'll call this person my benefactor, this will allow me to see more of the audio, to really understand, and they've said that I will finally, once I get this set up and start learning how to use it, obviously, I will finally understand what's really happening with my audio. So I'm crazy excited about that. This is going to be lots and lots of fun. Achita also says, also add a Wi-Fi extender at the antenna you'd be able to control through the control room easily. Well, we won't do it via Wi-Fi. This will be hooked up to Ethernet. And so yeah, that's part of the benefit, is that Ryan in the other room will be able to adjust my audio. So if for whatever reason he needs to adjust the levels, I don't have to do it from here. He can control it out there, which is insanely awesome as well. So I'm stoked on that. Chris Fenwick, good morning. Good to see you here, my friend. Says, I've mixed live music on these Behringer wireless mixers on multiple occasions. Behringer is not normally known as being the quietest gear. For spoken word, it may be okay. Oh, interesting. So let's see, does it have it's got a fan on it. Normally my thing's sitting here, so I guess we'll see where it is. I can always move it, especially since I don't have to be able to reach over to control it. This could go somewhere else. So that's an interesting idea. So I could put, let me think about this. What's going into here now? Oh yeah, I could totally put this even up top. The wireless receiver goes in, that'll reach to there. All the other wired outputs, those are just wired. Those can be on, they're probably already on long enough cables. Heck, one of the wires is coming from the top anyway. Oh yeah, I could totally put this somewhere else. So if it's loud, it'll just get out of this room. Oh, I guess then I wouldn't be able to monitor through here. I do need to be able to monitor. Oh, we'll figure it out. We will figure it out. Jake says, on the digital mixers, you want to run your gain, main level, to about -16, then control loudness with the fader, turn on the RTA real-time analyzer and to see incoming frequency. See, this is the kind of stuff that I'm like over my head, but we're gonna get this figured out. Ajita says, for recording, leave some headroom on output. Suggestion is look at input on recorder and adjust master fader to make the average signal around -12 B of recorder. But -12 B on whose measurement? Aha, see, there's always something. And on, just for general information, in doing my research on what YouTube wants, I've standardized on -6 being where I want most of my levels to be. Normal talking, I want it to be right around -6, so there's a little bit of room for explosives or any just loud little pops in there without clipping. And yeah, so that's what I've standardized on that. And that seems to be working pretty well for YouTube. We try to keep the same levels throughout this whole thing, but obviously it's all sometimes a bit of a mystery. See, these, like what everybody's saying here, it's all to me just wow. So you need audio specs. That's why people who do this for a living do this. Estro Digital says, one of the biggest annoyances I have is the difference in volume levels across YouTube videos, which means having to turn the viewing device volumes levels up and down. Yeah, that's the problem, is YouTube does not publish a standard. They don't say normalize to this, or they don't do anything on upload and transcoding to normalize it. So because they don't publish a standard, nobody has a standard to go off of. The -6 that I'm going off of is because I found an article that seemed to be very well reviewed and people liked and showed up in a lot of searches that said -6. Let's stick with that, guys. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. But yeah, I know it's crazy. It's really kind of complicated. It just says the reason of the dB mostly shown on negatives referred to each of the machine signal to noise ratio as same as camera. I'm not sure I totally understand that, but that's okay. Estro Digital saying, isn't minus 6 dB the broadcast standard volume? I think so. Chris Fenwick, you can probably respond to that better than I can. I believe minus 6 is a standard for broadcast, but I've also seen minus 12 show up in places. So, and then it gets different with digital. Who knows? Anyway, this, well, not much of an unboxing because it's just a box, but I am so excited to plug this thing in and get it set up. Step one, though, is to finish setting up the studio out there, and then I will integrate this into the system. It's going to be beautiful. Also, later on today, for those who are here for the long haul, later on today, let's see, did I bring up the graphic for it? I'm doing 2 live trainings. So we did, or I attempted to do, oops, wrong one, there we go. Attempted to do my Affinity on iOS focus merging last week, and I totally screwed it up and I had to cancel the show right after it started. I figured out what was wrong. It was my fault. It was user error, but I was so lost at the time. I didn't know what was happening. I thought there was a problem with the software. User error. So we're doing that show this morning. I think it's at 11 Pacific. And then later on today, we do panoramas with Affinity for macOS. So that's up on the schedule for later today. So we got 2 more live shows today. It's going to be a busy day. Going to be doing a lot of talking. Chris Fenwick says, I try not to look at meters. Not really. The lack of standardizations is truly maddening. There you go. There you go. Alrighty. All kinds of stuff on there. People chit-chatting amongst themselves, which is great. Okay, so we're going to keep this a nice, easy, short show because that's all I wanted to do is unbox this thing, say a huge thank you to thou who has provided this. You're awesome. I cannot wait to get this thing fired up. And, of course, to say thank you to all of you who support the show. It is humbling and awesome and fantastic and huge that you guys love the show enough that you would do something like this. I really, really appreciate it. So thanks again. I think we're going to knock it off there, guys. I have to figure out how to close this show without anybody here. This is going to be a challenge. Oops, wait, I had it. Uh-oh, where'd it go? Okay, so I am controlling Wirecast, which is on the other machine, via screen sharing on here, and with any luck, when I push this button, we're going to end out the show. So yeah, that's going to be it. Take care of yourselves, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.